Hi everyone, in today's video I'm going to talk about member verification using Zapier. Now in this case I'm going to use Eventbrite as an example because you might set up an event where you have member tickets and non-member tickets, and let's say your member tickets are free because they come complimentary with your membership. You obviously don't want non-members to be able to take advantage of your free Eventbrite tickets. Now I know Eventbrite has ways of hiding different ticket classes for certain groups of people, but it could be annoying to set up, and also the having the fact that there is member tickets on the Eventbrite event that show to non-members might prompt them to consider getting a membership, sort of showing that you could get this ticket free if you're a member. So if you hid that ticket, that wouldn't be as obvious. So how do we do that with Zapier? Well, I'm going to pop over to Zapier now so you can see what the workflow looks like. So the first trigger is that when somebody registers an Eventbrite, we're going to perform a filter step. Now a filter step is Zapier's way of saying, if these conditions are met, keep going. If not, don't. And basically what we're going to do is we're going to filter for if somebody purchased a member ticket. And then the next step is going to be to try and find that person in our member database. And in this example, I've used Airtable, but this step could be done with any other app that has a list of your members in it. And then this second filter step is going to check if that person wasn't found, because we want to make sure that if somebody registers for a member ticket that they are a member, and if not, we want to do something about it. And so that last fifth step is if somebody improperly registered, we're going to send an email notification to somebody. Now again, this step can also be different depending on your procedures. So this could go to Slack, it could go to Trello. It can take any action you prefer. And while we're talking about alternatives, this whole Zap really can fit any membership verification process you like. It doesn't have to be with Eventbrite. Perhaps you have a form that's filled out and you want to verify that that person is a member. The Zap will be able to handle that as long as that trigger app can connect into Zapier. So let's jump in and create this now. So I'm on my Zapier dashboard. I'm going to make a Zap. My first step is going to be using an Eventbrite trigger. So I'm going to search for Eventbrite. And the trigger event is when a new attendee is registered. Now if this is your first time using Eventbrite with your Zapier account, you'll need to authorize your account. I've already done that, so I'm going to continue. Choose my organization. Remember that any field marked in red we must have, but the other one here I'm going to leave empty because that will mean that this trigger will apply for every single event I run. So now I want to test my trigger, and that basically means that Zapier wants to see some sample data. And to do that, what I'm going to do is I'm going to register for a ticket in Eventbrite. So I'm going to register for a member ticket. And now when I go back to Zapier, when I test the trigger, here we go, I see data coming through. So if I scroll down, I can see this is all the data that Eventbrite is sending across to us. So there's all sorts of fields, but the main ones I'm looking for are to confirm that yes, the person who registered for the ticket is what I expected based on the details I filled out, and that the event name is correct. And so I can do that by using the search box. You can see the event name is test event for Zapier, so that all checks out. Okay, I'm going to click continue now. Okay, so for the next step, we're going to put in a filter action. Now, depending on Zapier's layout, you may just be able to find it on the right, or you can search it up using the search box. Now, for the filter step, in this case, we want to make sure that we're looking for ticket types that say member. So there's a couple of ways you could do this. Looking at the event quickly, I know my ticket types are called non-member and member. So the easiest way to do that is to match that the ticket type is a member ticket. And we can do that using by typing in class in the search box. And it's this one here, ticket class name. So when I click that, I want that to exactly match member. Okay, so with that set up, I can now continue, and that this is showing that the Zap would have continued, and I can verify that. I can look down here and I can see that the matched items were that yes indeed for the test data that Zapier pulled in from Eventbrite, the ticket class was a member ticket. So the Zap would have continued. That's great. Now the next step is we know this person has registered for a member ticket. Now we want to check that that person really is a member. So in this case I'm going to use Airtable. And I'm going to quickly show you what the my very simple member database looks like in Airtable. So here I've got a simple table, and for those who don't know, Airtable is similar to Excel or Google Sheets. It's kind of like a spreadsheet. And all I've done here is put in a list of emails and names of members, of hypothetical members for my membership program. So if somebody isn't in this list, then they're not a member. Okay, so I'm going to go back to Zapier now, and the event I'm going to choose for Airtable is a find records step. I'm going to continue. I'm going to choose my Airtable account. I'm going to choose the base, which is my member database, the table, and the field I'm going to search by is the member email. You can also search by member name, but it's possible for multiple members to have the same name, but never the same email. So email is more unique. So usually it's a better search term. And then the search value means what is the email that it's going to search against that database. And so we can find that from the data from Eventbrite. So it's the profile email here. So click that to pop it in. And then, yes, we want to consider this to be a success when nothing is found. This step's a little bit more complicated and not worth worrying about too much, but basically this just means usually Zapier will sort of throw a bit of an error if it doesn't find anything. But we know that sometimes when Zapier gets to the step, it's going to find it's not going to find somebody, and actually we want that. So we want Zapier to be happy with that. And so I'm going to mark true here. I'm going to continue, and then I'm going to test the action. Okay, so let's go, test and review. Okay, so the screen means that this search action was successful. This bit here means that it did find a member. And you can see it pulled out that, just like the ticket was registered for, the member name is Jacob Monash and the email is jacob@jmonash.com. So the test was successful, it worked correctly. I'm going to close that, and the next step is another filter step. And in this filter step, what I want to check is, was somebody found in the member database in the previous Airtable step? And the way I'm going to search for that is this one here. Zap search was found status. Now, I want to make sure that this only notifies somebody when a non-member registered for a member ticket. So I'm going to say if this is false. So that means no member with that email was found in our database, which means they must be a non-member. Now if I click continue here, it's going to show me it would not have continued because, as I showed, I am in my member database. So this shouldn't notify anyone because, yes, I was a member and I registered for a free member ticket, and that's all fine. I'll come back a little bit later and we'll try some non-member data so you can see what that looks like. But for the meantime, let's just set up the last step, which in this case is an email. by Zapier. So this is Zapier will send an email to somebody you choose. I'm going to send this to myself, and I'm going to write. Now when it comes to writing the message that's in this email, the great thing about Zapier is that you can do a mix of your own manual text and then automated fields that come in from the data. So I can do something like this. Okay, so there I've put together the message that will go to myself. This could go to anyone you want. For example, somebody on your team who handles this kind of outreach. And it will tell that person that the Eventbrite registrant was not found on the members list, so it's time to take some action. And with that, I'm going to continue. Now I can test this as well just to make sure it's working. I won't show it, but in my inbox I received an email that looked like this. Okay, so now we've set up the entire Zap, but I want to show you what it looks like when somebody registers for a member ticket who isn't a member. So I'm going to go back to Eventbrite and register another ticket as a member, but as somebody who isn't in the database. Okay, so now this new registration has been in for somebody who is definitely not in my member database. Now let's go back to Zapier and test through that data again. So for the trigger, I'm going to go back to the testing. I'm going to click here, and then I'm going to load more, and that's going to pull in that new registration that I made. So here we go, let's try attendee, and I'm going to look through and make sure, yes, this is the random email address I supplied. I'm going to continue. Now let's go to our second step. So this is the nice thing about Zapier is that we can go through and test all of this data again. So if I go to the second step, it's going to test with that new data. So let's continue. This is good. It still would have continued because the ticket is still a member ticket. And then let's try the find record step. Now what's important to see here is that this action was successful. However, this field here says false. It didn't find anybody with that email address in the member database. And that means when we come to step number 4, the second filter step, and we now try this again, it will continue because that was not, the Zap search was found was false. And so this, the filter is going to let this through. We want to know because this person wasn't found in the database. And so that will go through and send the outbound email. And that's how that Zap works. Now I've made a share link for this. So if you go to the share link, which is in the YouTube description, you will be able to see this Zap for yourself with some more details, and you'll be able to add it to your own Zapier account. So I hope that's been a helpful video. If you enjoyed it, please like and subscribe to my feed for more videos about Zapier and connecting together different apps, especially when it comes to integrating the data on your audiences.